Hey folks, how you doing out there? Sorry, Facebook got a little stuck getting going here today. Boy, it's been a while since I've done a video, I think, or at least I haven't done a whole lot. Oh, it's already seeing my thumb. Haven't seen or been doing a whole lot of video work here. I've been busy, but I gave you the warning that I was going to slow down a little bit, and partially because of just trying to find a new theme to talk about. And just some other stuff. I've been staying away. Also was going to cut back a little bit in buying in this first couple of months. But then I changed my mind. February crossed over. It's like, oh, it's time to buy my first bottle of the year. Let's see, where are we going to go? So what I did is I decided to return to Canadian whiskey. I have been listening to some podcasts recently. Oh, hey, welcome to Drink and Wink. How you doing out there, everyone? Um, Return today. I've been listening to some podcasts and some videos and stuff in regards to Canadian whiskey again. I have a kind of hot and cold to find something I really like. But the really, the kind of grocery store range products. Not a huge fan of all of that. I do like the Crown Royal 12, I think it's called, and the 9. Well, those are regular kind of core range things. Well, not always wild, but those are, big companies and all that kind of stuff. Then I've tried some, kind of brands that are outside kind of the big company status, semi-big company status. I've enjoyed some of them. But I get something else catches my attention, and I stay away from another genre or another locale of whiskey. But I thought it'd be a good time. I've been listening to a lot of, as some of you know, not to get political, but I'm going to get political. Why not? Canada, many of the provinces have actually just taken American spirits products off the shelves because of tariffs and all these manner other things. That was kind of looking like it was going to get settled. I'm not 100% sure if it was settled because, with our president here, those things change by the minute. And Anyway, there was some talk that with an agreement between the United States and Canada and Mexico that agreement that they had that had come back was blah blah blah, ding ding ding. Anyway, Canada dared to side with Greenland on the latest Trump fiasco about this whole Greenland thing, and so then he was threatening to raise the tariffs another 10%. So anyway, long story short, right now there was also a threat to raise European or UK prices and a tariff there from Trump. So Scotch was going to go up. That ended up folding. But in this economy, in this market, and with what's going on, Scotch is harder and harder for me to purchase if I just want to make a general purchase. The lower price stuff that I just want to have for kind of quasi daily drinkers is out of my price range a little bit at the moment. And I figured, yeah, for Canada Bone, they're doing just fine without selling that product. Some provinces I think are starting to do it, and some are making kind of they're just doing exactly what they can do if they like to. They're kind of boycotting or not supporting red states, so bourbon is hard to find. But then other ones like High West and some of those other Western Northwest distilleries they're using. I'd like to see if maybe I don't know if our DeKalb, Illinois. Not to bring him in the political fold, but the Whiskey Acres is getting up there. I'm not quite sure on that. They should, because Canadians would love it, because it's very much in their style, and they buy their rye seed from Canada. Boy, I'm really going off on a tangent here. So that's it. Other things, we're going to settle in for the Olympics soon, and I can guarantee you, mark my words, you can come back if I'm wrong and tell me, but I can guarantee you that Team USA, my beloved Team USA hockey team, will likely get trounced. The Canadian team is super, super stacked, and in their usual kind of recent fashion, they decided that they were going to go. The United States is going to go physical, so they left off two notable exceptions. Would be ex-Blackhawk. Patrick Kane, yeah, I know he's old, but he also just broke the record from Mike Modano of being the all-time United States scorer, and he right now has 32 points and is a +2 in 42 games. I don't know. Might have been good to have some leadership. And then his teammate, also ex-Blackhawk Alex DeBrincat, was also left off the roster. He's scoring at a point-a-game pace right now. He's got 52 points already, and this is February, what is this, 3rd? That's pretty good. He needs a +3. They left him off, too, because they want to go physical and be more defensive. Great. Good luck. They've tried this in the past, and, yeah, they haven't won. So we'll see. To whiskey. So a couple of things to note about this J.P. Weiser's, you might have seen, if you've seen anything, you probably have just seen what's called J.P. Weiser's Deluxe. That's their kind of flagship product in the $20-some range. I've had it, owned it, enjoyed it, finished it. I would liken that a little bit to an equivalent to maybe just a regular Bushmills Irish whiskey. And I would definitely drink it over anything in that price range from Canadian Club. Crown Royal, well, I have the bottle up there. It's a little bit more money. I do enjoy that from the time. That bottle's from the 70s. Maybe even, yeah, 70s, when Seagram's owned it. But the J.P. Weiser Deluxe is a nice change of pace. Again, if you're into, using a kind of a basic Canadian whiskey and Coke or something like that in one of your drinks, I would definitely suggest checking out the J.P. Weiser Deluxe. This one caught my eye because I was kind of looking around. A couple of reasons. One, the Canadian Whiskey Awards just recently, J.P. Weiser's 24-year-old won Canadian Whiskey of the Year just recently, a week or so ago, I think. And checking the price on that one. Could have bought it today, but that's out of my price range right now. In this economy, I can't spend it. I'm sure it's wonderful, but I still wanted to get something Canadian whiskey. So then I was kind of looking around, and I found this very interesting bottle. This is called the Signature Series, and this was partnered with our Illinois big box beverage Binny's Beverage Depot, and it's what they call the Rye Forward blend, bottled at 43.3%. Really cool thing. Normally about $40 and it was on sale, so I picked it up for a cool, I think, 32 or 33 today. They also have a wheat forward one, and I will explain what that's all about. So I'll give you a review in a second, but let me tell you a little bit more about this, because I really haven't talked about Canadian whiskey, and it's not my expertise, but I'm trying to learn quickly. One thing I was listening to another podcast today, and Dr. Don Livermore, who is the master blender for J.P. Weiser, and J.P. Weiser is owned by Hiram Walker, so his work has been seen in another popular Canadian whiskey called Lot 40, the other one called Pikes Creek. I've had Lot 40. I don't know anything about Pikes Creek. Good stuff. Anyway, he was kind of talking in this podcast a little bit about like characteristics of Canadian whiskey to make it a little different. What he said very interestingly is, this is a generalization, but it's more the norm than the difference. The difference is that sometimes when we're talking about Canadian whiskey, you really can't talk about mash bills. When we talk about bourbon, for instance, especially, we're going to talk about a mash bill, because that's always going to be primarily corn and corn grain, rye or wheat, and then sometimes a little malted barley, and they blend those distillates together, and then they age them. Okay, and there you go, and that's what the mash bill. So it's kind of the recipe as they make and produce and distill the whiskey. Canadian whiskey, by and large, from what I understand, it does it a little differently. They don't really use mash bills. What they do is they are blending independent grain whiskey first, not blending, sorry, producing that, distilling it and all that, and aging it, and then only after it's aged do they make this blend. So that's why this is very interesting here. On this bottling, this rye forward blend is a blend of a 22 or 20% 10-year-old corn, okay, 30% rye, so that's why it's rye forward, 10% barley, 10% wheat, 30% corn. This is probably aged in new barrels, And then they added a little bit of their what's supposed to be very good 15-year PX finish whiskey in the blend. So that is what this is comprised of. But again, understand that they aren't mixing all those disparate grains together and then distilling. They're distilling all those grains separately, and then that's what's happening. The other thing, you notice the two different corns. One was aged in probably new oak barrels, and then the other one was aged in used or second or third fill, if you're talking more Scotch. Okay. Barrels. So that's how it becomes what they call a one-of-a-kind release. Finally, we'll talk about the taste. One thing of note also sometimes is that when something is rye forward, from what this Dr. Livermore was talking about, they have a little more control of kind of the blend in terms of what is aged where. In his opinion, and opinion of many, rye specifically doesn't necessarily benefit from a long age time. Okay, Michelle would know that, right? Okay, did you know that? Okay, so from what I'm understanding is, like sometimes ryes, when they can lose the rye spice and kind of start getting more green appley in that way. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's just a chemical process from aging longer, and that I don't know what the chemicals are, but it can kind of lose the rye spice and get more into green appley, or maybe take on too much of that oak characteristic. We love that in some whiskeys, but if you're trying to get the rye flavor and embrace the rye flavor, which Michelle and I both love, then it doesn't make sense to kind of cover it with either aging or in the chemical process where it starts to fade into something else. That's a whole lot about J.P. Weiser. I'm going to taste it. On the nose, I'm getting the corn notes. There's a little bit of earth. But a little bit of this wheat blend in there is giving me that kind of nose. I really can kind of pull out the different grains here. The longer you inhale, the more we start getting the rye notes, the rye forward notes. So on the initial little sniff, I'm not getting it. And then what will happen is after I do the long one, now I'm getting more of the rye notes. Let me give you another nose, because it seems like I was a little confused by it. Yeah, nice touches of some charred notes from an ex-bourbon barrel. The rye comes in. On the taste, there's a corn note, but there's an earthiness to it. What I think is probably happening here is, boy, that was nice. It's a nice combo of the corn element here. It's really smart to age some in new oak and some in some used oak, meaning it's already held maybe some other Canadian whiskey for a time. Gives it a darker note, a little more Canadian campfire. Would you agree? You want to have another sip and maybe... You don't have to do anything, Michelle. She didn't have a whole lot, but this is very, very tasty. The finish might where I see a little bit more of the rye forward here. The rye forward kind of goes up. Sometimes we're going to get a oaky note on the end of some more, shall we say, aged whiskey. But the addition of some PX sherry in this blend and that rye forward kind of covers that a little bit. Very tasty. The mouthfeel may be a hair thin. I would bet that if we went with the wheat forward one, which I'm not. You know, I was very simple. I have the Crown Royal Winter Wheat, which I really like. That was a very hard to find exclusive. I don't even know if it's around anymore. It was coming from their some kind of collection. I can't remember what it was called. And I really enjoyed that one, but that wheat note was really big, so I chose the rye one, because I thought Michelle might like it more. Because you're not really a wheated bourbon fan, right?
Nope.
Okay, so that's why I bought this. Uh, if it's got some rye, I'm gonna buy. Oh God! Wow, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for two countries on that one. Um, one more time on this. Yeah, the mouth feels a little thin on it. There's a lot going on here though, and it has a. I would say at this sale price, this is a nice like. There's something exclusive about this, but it's getting there. At the sale price, it's really nice. This is going to be like I'm gonna. This isn't going to last real long. This is going to be a nice like I want to settle down with a nice little drink. It's complex enough. If you do want to put a cube in there, I guess you could do that. I wouldn't. It tastes really nice all on its own. I don't know that. I think the only thing that's missing here for me is a little bit more of. I could still actually just go for a little more of the rye vibe on this, but I like it. What do you think, Michelle?
That was good.
I thought it was good. You said it had some bourbon notes, but is the rye punching through enough for you, or?
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. I would also say that this might be a nice little. It's not overly sweet though, right?
Not at all.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I think is really pleasurable about this. The rye is taking over, and it's not making it too, not at all sweet. And sometimes some other Canadian whiskeys that when they try to bump it up a little bit more and they're aging longer, maybe they're aging in X bourbon cask, maybe they're aging in X, yeah, whatever. The corn that they're using kind of pushes through a little bit, and it gets too sweet. This is a very tasty whiskey. I'm not gonna say highly recommend this. This is not this is not whiskey of the year type of stuff. Maybe check out J.P. Weiser's 24. If you're wondering who J.P. Weiser was, another interesting fact: J.P. Weiser was actually an American in 1850s. He was big actually I guess he was a cattleman, and he was one of the first, along with some whiskey interests, to figure out that. Now a lot of people know this, or the industry knows this, but the byproducts of producing whiskey, spent grain and all that, I guess, is a fantastic nutrition source for cattle. Who'd have thunk it, right? Well, maybe J.P. Weiser, if he's a cattleman in the middle of from New York, and then he moved to Canada. So I guess he moved to Canada, and then at the time, it was an independent company, and one of the five big distilleries in the 1800s. And then they have been purchased and kind of moved around, and right now Hiram Walker owns them. Really great stuff. I really enjoy this. I just keep drinking it, and I will say this is a little bit dangerous. Now you just keep drinking this all night. This is very, very tasty. If you're looking for a big, powerful punch of flavor, this is not for you. If you're looking something that's along the lines of, say, what would be another kind of interesting blend? This reminds me also of some of the American whiskey, four-grain type of things. And since we have, a bunch of different aging here, I mean, I'm guessing, like I said, this is kind of four-grain: corn, rye, barley, wheat. Yeah. So, brilliant. I didn't have to take the glasses off and look like an idiot for that one. Yeah, it reminds me of that. If you've had Koval's four-grain or a couple of the different, American whiskeys, this actually does feel also kind of like some of the new American whiskeys that are not single malts. Right now, The wheat forward and the bourbon forward, if you're here in the Chicagoland area, are on sale. 33 bucks, man. You could do a lot worse than drink this, and I can feel good about drinking this for my hockey dram. Yeah, it just has a nice winter vibe, and that's a nice bottle of whiskey for that price. That's all I got. I don't know if I'm going to continue with any more Canadian because I kind of brought it all to you. But yeah, I would say also if you've had Canadian whiskey and you don't have a big not people don't you don't have a real good high opinion of it. Remember that probably you were just probably drinking the core range in either the Crown Royal or the Canadian Club. Boy, that's hard to judge it on that. And regular Crown Royal, although it's not as good as it used to, I will drink that from time to time. And on the Canadian Club side, do check out that, I can't remember the exact name, but it's like Special Reserve 12, I think, or the 9, which I think is a little more expensive because I think it's a little higher proof. That 12 is a really nice, good whiskey as well. There you go, J.P. Weiser. Like I said, I've only had their deluxe. That's recommended as a nice daily drinker and blender. This one, I wouldn't blend. Check it out. It's always nice to throw a bone to Canada. Hate to get political, folks, but I mean, come on. What the... Jesus. Greenland? Or is it Iceland? Man, he'll figure it out.